Welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you've been following electric vehicles, you already know the usual talking points, right? We're always arguing about range, charging speeds, and finding the right plug. But looking at the hard data for 2026, we are standing right on the edge of a massive paradigm shift. The entire EV landscape is undergoing a radical, fundamental transformation. We're talking about a tipping point that completely rewrites the rules of electric mobility as we know them. Just imagine this scenario for a second. What if your electric vehicle charged in just 5 minutes? What if you could pull up to practically any station, regardless of the brand, and know for a fact the plug would fit? And what if while your car was just sitting there parked in your driveway, it was actively making you money and paying your electric bill? I know, that sounds like science fiction or at least some pipe dream for the year 2040. But here's the crazy part. Everything I just mentioned is an actual commercial engineering reality in 2026. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap. 1. The 2026 EV tipping point. 2. 5-minute megawatt charging. 3. The universal charging network. 4. Your car powers the grid. And finally, 5. A fully charged future.
Section 1. The 2026 EV tipping point. Now, to appreciate where we're headed, we first have to understand the historical, psychological barriers of EV ownership. For years, the two massive hurdles keeping gas drivers from making the switch have been range anxiety and the time it takes to refuel. People simply don't want to sit at some random highway rest stop for 45 minutes just waiting for their battery to fill up.
But take a look at the macro context from the International Energy Agency's Global EV Outlook. It's really fascinating. Even right in the middle of a global energy crisis and all this economic uncertainty, electric vehicle sales are experiencing massive, relentless growth. Millions of these vehicles are being shipped and sold all over the world. The demand is absolutely there. But to capture the rest of the market, to literally replace gas-powered cars completely, the infrastructure and the tech had to take a giant leap forward to solve those lingering wait time anxieties. Which brings us to Section 2, 5-minute megawatt charging. To get the everyday mass market on board, refueling times couldn't just get a little bit better, they had to be completely shattered. Enter the era of 5-minute megawatt charging. Look at the sheer scale of this power leap. The old standard fast chargers that many of us are used to, they operate at around 150 kilowatts. But BYD has just announced their Megawatt flash charging 2.0 system, and it pushes a mind-boggling 1,500 kilowatts. This is a total paradigm shift, and it's made possible by their new system-wide 1,000-volt high-voltage architecture and the Blade Battery 2.0. We are talking about a charging rate that is roughly 10 times more powerful than the old standard. It's wild. To really understand what 1,500 kilowatts means for your next road trip, let's walk through the numbers here. Say you want to add 400 kilometers of range, which is a really solid chunk of highway driving. A standard 150 kilowatt charger takes about 35 minutes to do that. A Tesla V3 supercharger drops that wait to about 20 minutes. Even the theoretical speeds of a Tesla V4 at 500 kilowatts would still take roughly 12 minutes. But BYD's Flash Charging 2.0 at 1,500 kilowatts, it adds that 400 kilometers of range in just 5 minutes. 5 minutes! That exactly matches the time it takes you to stand there and pump a tank of gas. The psychological barrier of the charging wait time, it's officially gone. Now you might be wondering, how do they even solve the physical problem of moving that much electricity? I mean, pushing 1,500 kilowatts generates immense heat, which usually means impossibly thick, heavy cables that are a nightmare to lift. Well, BYD completely redesigned the station with a zero-gravity overhead canopy. It's brilliant. The cable is actually suspended on a sliding rail, and it features an advanced all-liquid-cooled system. So as a user, you are only holding about 2 kilograms, roughly 4.5 pounds of weight. Plus, because it slides right overhead, it reaches your charge port no matter where it is on the car. And my favorite part, it finally allows for pull-through parking so you don't have to unhook a trailer just to plug in. Of course, the immediate question everyone asks is, won't plugging 4 of these 1,500 kilowatt chargers in at once instantly black out the local neighborhood grid? Honestly, that's the biggest myth out there right now. BYD solved this with incredible elegance. They don't pull that massive spike directly from the grid in real time. Instead, every single station has a massive on-site battery storage buffer. This station battery just slowly, gently sips power from the local grid 24 hours a day. Then, when you pull up, the station dumps its stored power directly into your car at that blazing 1500 kilowatt speed. It completely shields the neighborhood grid from any sort of spike. All right, section 3, the universal charging network. Because let's be real, speed is incredible, but it doesn't mean a thing if you pull up to a station and the plug doesn't even fit your car. In 2026, we are finally seeing the realization of a truly seamless charging experience. The whole fragmented charger plug problem is finally being unified. For years, North America was awkwardly split between the CCS plug and Tesla's proprietary plug. But now, major legacy automakers are officially unlocking access to the Tesla supercharger network. Take Volkswagen, for example. Starting November 18, 2025, VW EV owners gain full access. The actionable facts here are actually pretty simple. You just need a VW-approved $200 adapter to convert your CCS port to Tesla's NACS port. And hey, if you were the original owner of a 2025 ID4 or ID Buzz, they're even throwing in a $100 rebate. We're officially moving out of the era of adapter anxiety and into an era of seamless, universal access. Section 4, your car powers the grid. Now a transition with me here, because this is perhaps the most revolutionary part. For a century, a car has been a completely passive asset. It sits in your driveway, losing value, doing absolutely nothing for 95% of its life. But the 2026 tipping point transforms your car from passive transport into an active, revenue-generating grid utility. Now, if you've been reading about EVs lately, you've probably drowned in a sea of acronyms. Let's define them super quickly so we're all clear. First up is V2L, or vehicle to load. This is the simplest form of bidirectional charging. It literally just means using your car's battery to power standalone devices. You plug a coffee maker, a camping fridge, maybe a power drill straight into an outlet on the car. No special home charger required. Simple, right? Next is V2H, or vehicle to home. This builds on that bidirectional capability, but instead of powering a single drill, your EV feeds power into your entire house. You do need a special bidirectional wall box for this, but it means if there's a blackout, your car keeps your lights and your fridge running. Or you can use the car's power during expensive peak evening hours to completely avoid paying high utility rates, keeping all that precious energy local to your property. And finally, the big one, V to G, vehicle to grid. So the absolute crucial point here is that V to G takes that stored energy and sends it all the way back out into the public electricity grid. Just think about what this means at scale. If millions of EVs are plugged in, grid operators suddenly have a massive, distributed national battery network they can draw from right when everyone gets home from work and turns on their ovens. And the very best part? They actually pay you for it. And guys, this isn't just a pilot project in some lab anymore. V2G is a commercial reality right now. Over in France, the Renault 5 E-Tech is already live with a full V2G bundle. In Germany, BMW has partnered with E.ON for the iX3. You simply plug in your car with their special wall box, and they pay you 0.24 euros for every single hour the car is connected and available, regardless of whether energy actually flows. You can earn up to 720 euros annually, which basically offsets the entire electricity cost of driving your car all year. This is only possible because Germany actually amended their Energy Industry Act to remove the double grid fees that used to penalize people for feeding power back. The legislation and the hardware have finally caught up with each other. Now, I know exactly what you are thinking because it is the biggest fear of every single EV owner right now. If I am constantly cycling energy in and out of my very expensive car battery to help the grid, am I going to destroy my battery life? Does V2G accelerate degradation? Well, the answer is in the data, and it is a surprisingly low number. Studies modeling 10 full years of V2G usage found that it only adds roughly a third of a single percent, 0.31% of extra battery degradation annually. Why is it so low? Because 85 to 90% of battery aging just comes from calendar degradation, the battery wearing out simply by existing over time. As long as the smart software manages the cycling, the wear and tear from V2G is practically a rounding error, and it's heavily outweighed by the financial compensation you receive. Section 5, a fully charged future. So let's tie all this together. We've seen how EV charging is dropping to a mere 5 minutes. We've seen how legacy brands are adopting universal plugs to end charging anxiety once and for all. And we've seen how bidirectional charging is turning cars into revenue-generating assets. This paints a really cohesive, incredible vision of our near future. This quote beautifully captures the macroeconomic impact of what we've discussed today. The European Union estimates that a properly deployed V2G system could offset a quarter of the staggering 584 billion euros they need to spend to upgrade their electrical grid. That is an enormous amount of money saved simply by utilizing the batteries that are already parked in our driveways right now. This 2026 tipping point is not just about making consumer road trips slightly more convenient. It is about completely re-architecting global energy infrastructure.
Which leaves us with this final thought. The very definition of what a car actually is has fundamentally changed. So when the time comes for you to finally upgrade your vehicle, are you going to settle for just a passive mode of transportation? Or are you going to purchase a high-speed, fast-charging, money-making mobile power plant? The tech is here, the infrastructure is building out, and the choice is incredibly exciting. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.